We verily have made music as a ladder for your souls, a means whereby they may be lifted up onto the realm of high. Make it not, therefore, as wings to self and passion. Baha'u'llah. There are two kinds of music, divine and earthly music. Divine music exhilarates the spirit, while earthly music has an effect upon the body. Divine music belongs to the kingdom of God. Earthly music is of the mundane world. I hope you will be confirmed to study both kinds of music so that you may be able to sing the anthems of heaven and the songs of this world. Abdul-Baha.
So today we're really happy to have Mr. Frederick Landry as our speaker, and his topic is, does listening to pop music draw us closer to love or push us away from it? Frederick Landry has examined decades of popular music and attempted to draw connections to the Baha'i Faith's teachings on love and marriage. While most of society actively listens to popular music and the embedded messages on love, perverse or not, let us explore whether we are in fact benefiting from such music as we continue on our enduring search for love, regardless of our marital status. Frederick is a member of the Northern Virginia Bahá'í community. He works as an analyst for the U.S. General Services Administration. Mr. Landry received his law degree from the University of Melbourne and his Master of Laws from Vanderbilt University, where he specialized in international criminal law. He's the author of several publications and papers on collective security, including The Evolution of Collective Security and the United Nations Charter, Elements and Applications that Prevent Collective and Human Security. He's also co-authored two books, including Anchor of Faith, The Enduring Spirit of the Black Men's Gathering. So with that, I'll hand it off to Mr. Landry.
Let's start here. And first of all, I did want to just read this. What a power is love. It is the most wonderful, the greatest of all living powers. And I think one can read this and think, well, that seems kind of obvious, or it seems very, beautiful. I think that it's one of those. When I read it, I think, yes, I believe that, but yet I think sometimes it's easy to forget. And it's easy to forget that there's this continual living power that exists out there. And, we're all seeking that power of love. And so this was Abdul-Baha is the author of this. And just to give everybody a little bit of a brief, introduction, the Baha'i Faith, Baha'u'llah is the son of the founder of the Baha'i Faith. The Baha'i Faith dates back to the 1800s, and Baha'u'llah came to spiritually renew social teachings, to unify mankind, really having the belief that all humanity is equal, and that really Baha'is believe and work towards unification of the whole world, but of course they do that in their local communities. And so in the Baha'i Faith, there are a lot of, you'll see a lot of things that have to do with very, very lofty subjects, such as love, unity. And we're going to talk today about music and love, really. I guess I'm going to ask, maybe people can put this in the chat, just wondering what people's definition of love is. I'm curious. And hopefully I'll be able to see that. Anybody would like to share? And Paimana, if I don't see it, let me know. I don't know if I can see the chat, but.
Okay, one person said inspiration, God is love. Yeah.
Connection, I see it. Yes, thank you. God is love, inspiration, connection. I think so. I'm going to kind of make it much more mundane for a second and take us back to when I was in 9th grade living in Ohio. My gym teacher, who was teaching our health class at the time, was talking about love. And he said that love is caring about someone else's happiness as much as you do your own. And I, first of all, I find it interesting that I actually remember that particular, it's the only thing I remember about my gym teacher. And it was that, I don't know if it was because he was like the last person that I would expect to start talking about love. There we were playing sports. He was a director of this and whatnot. But he told us about that definition of love. And I always, I took it for many years. And I kind of actually used that as a benchmark of what love is. I think I've since kind of had a personal refinement of that. It's very basic, but love is what keeps everything together. I see that. Attraction is love. Love is a lot of things. If you'll permit me, I would like to read something from Baha'u'llah that talks about what I believe is virtually a definition of love, of what love really is. And so if you'll permit me, and I'll just take a moment here, I'm going to read this. Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasure to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answerer to the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man and show all meekness to all men. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victim of oppression. Let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger, a balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind and a guiding light to the feet of the unerring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, a crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the hosts of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human heart, an ark on the ocean of knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, a fruit upon the tree of humility. When I read that for the first time, I don't think I connected that really to love. But in my some years, when I read that, it makes me really think this is what love is all about. And I think that you would then be able to say, well, if that's what love is all about, then of course I need to be those qualities. And also those are the kind of people that I would want to look towards, when I'm looking for love, when I'm seeking that type of love. And so I think these qualities then, generosity, being thankful, neighborly, fair, truthful, faithful, this to me is what it means to be loving. And so I find that if you're in love with somebody, there's going to be a high level of generosity, thankfulness, trust, justice in your relationship. They are going to be faithful to you. You are going to be faithful to them. So really that quotation that I read, I think just sets out the framework for love. This is what love is. So then one could say, well, wonderful, we now see what love is, but what do we do with that really? And so the essence of love is for man to turn his heart to the beloved one, to God, and to sever himself from all else but him, and desire not save that which is the desire of his Lord. So, the question is, how do we obtain those attributes? And really the idea is that we obtain those qualities, those attributes, by turning to God. Abdu'l-Baha said that real love is impossible unless one turns his face towards God and is attracted to his beauty. And so that's the how. So we understand love, we understand how to do it. Then we have this tricky element of music. And as was shared in the opening devotions, this phrase here, we verily have made music as a ladder for your souls, a means whereby they may be lifted up unto the realm on high. Every time that I've heard this talked about, this is a very kind of a popular thing in the Baha'i Faith. I think that there's the belief that, we want to always, reach up higher, and we want to ascend this ladder. But I think it's important to think about a very practical situation. Ladders, you can fall off ladders. And I think that with music, it's the same thing. You can go up and down, so your soul can be more lofty or more, debased. And so when we think about music, this is the music that we listen to is going to do that, whether or not we're even sometimes aware of it or not. I also want to hear what kind of music people listen to. So I wish we could all be sitting there and having a in-person conversation and listening to music together. We are going to listen to some music today together, just so you know. But I do want to hear, what is it that you all listen to? What is it special about music that you appreciate? Some people don't listen to music. I find that's hard for me. I love to listen to music. So I'm going to look in the chat here. European classic and world music and classical. Oh, wow. So as people continue to do that, please share. I always want to hear 60s, 70s folk rock. I love it. I grew up really in the 80s, 90s. I was an 80s, 90s child. And probably around when I was in college, I had like an epiphany almost. And because I was seeing these patterns in music, and I thought, it's interesting. Music is all about love. Like everything is about love. And I feel like maybe that was obvious to everybody else but me. But I finally started thinking about music in terms of love. And then you have other music, and maybe there might be anger or whatnot. And so, but it's still a function of love. It may be, I'm upset. It may be a lack of love, but in many ways, almost all music has this connection to love. I love it. American soul, rhythm and blues, country, bluegrass. We're going to have lots of different music we're going to cover today. I can't promise we're going to have all of it, but we're going to go through some. So I feel like we have a very good understanding of what love is. But then when you look towards the music industry, I think that's where there's a huge lacking. And I think that when you look at love, it's almost just a very much like an unknown concept, I would say, almost. When you listen to music about love, of course there is, and we'll talk, this is a very large subject matter, but there is that question that people say, what is love? And I'm going to play a little bit of music here. I don't know who was in the UK. Was that Sandra? Is that Sandra? Yeah. So in the UK, we have a British artist here. I'm sure she knows who it is. But we're gonna listen to just a bit here, and that's Howard Jones. And Howard Jones asked this question of, like, what is love? Okay, so could you all hear that okay? Yes, all right. Thank you, Byron. So can we, I wish I could see everybody at this moment. Let's see here. So I'm just wondering, maybe show of hands, how many people have actually heard of that song before? Anybody? Yes. Shala? Yes. Sue seems kind of happy and bouncy over there, so I'm going to assume that she has. And Zanus, I'm seeing a shaking of the head. Never heard of that, Zanus? Is that right? No. All right. Well, this I believe that, you know, when I listen to a lot of music, you find that there's a lot of songs that actually are titled "What is Love?" I mean, I think that's a very common question. You know, what is love? But I think that you know, if you look at the chorus line here, does anybody love anybody anyway? I think when you go back to our original definition of love, I think it makes it very. I think he makes a very good point. Do we really love each other? And I think that he's searching for kind of a greater love. We will continue on, but I did want to know real quick here. Please keep the chats coming, but I want to know what people think of. You know, what do you think? Maybe give me a definition, not a definition, but when you think of popular music, what is a word that comes to mind? What do you think about when you listen to popular music on the radio or whatnot? What is popular music all about? Anger, sadness, loneliness. A lot of that, broken hearts. Yeah, so, you know, and relationships, yes. I think that, you know, very much what you all said, elation, euphoria, commitment, revenge, ease, love, lust. I feel like lust is such a focused on, you know, concept when it comes to, you know, music. You know, the lyrics of all this music, lust and ease, and how easy love is supposed to be. And you know, I feel like you know, we're gonna talk more about this, but I want to focus more on this concept of ease. And I'm going to share a song with you all that I will tell you all, first of all the music that we're going to share, that I'm going to share with you all today. I love the melodies, the beat, the rhythms, the lyrics of them. They make me feel very special. And I love this whole idea. And I feel some sense of love, and maybe like where I've written here, elation, euphoria, all of this, it's kind of almost very, you know, kind of buoying and kind of a boost in a way. But I'm going to play a little song here. It's a little country song. So those of you that haven't heard a lot of country, this will be a little bit of an introduction. But I think this is it's a beautiful song. But I think that it focuses a little bit on this idea of ease. And, you know, I think that what I'd like to do, actually, I don't think I'm going to be able to play that song, but I will show the lyrics for you all. This song is called, it's by Jason Aldean. It's called "You Make It Easy." And the song itself, you know, if you look towards, you know, towards the bottom there, you make it easy loving on you. You make it easy with every little thing you do. And I think that it's wonderful. You know, you want ease. Like, that's one thing that we do like in life. That's one of the qualities of human beings. We like to get as much as we can out of life with doing the least amount of effort. And so in many ways, you know, ease is it's attractive. But also, I think that it kind of sets us up for failure, that relationships are only the good ones, the ones that are worth, are supposed to be easy. And I think that creates a kind of a big challenge when your relationship is not easy, and you may think that is kind of there's something wrong with that relationship. So I love this song, but I think it's easy when you listen to it, no pun intended, easy. I think that it makes the case for you know, these relationships that are just supposed to be simple. And so I have gone through and chosen a lot of music that that I do like, but also I wonder, is it helpful for me when I listen to this music? Is it something that over the years I may be internalizing negative messages in this music? And I'm sure, hopefully, I think everybody has probably heard one of these songs or one of these artists. Can I get just a show of hands? Who knows any of these artists? Anybody heard of Rod Stewart? Yes. Okay. We have Foreigner, Usher, Alicia Keys. I'm going to play a little bit of this this music, and there's some lyrics here, and I would like for you all, if you can just focus. I wish we could, but all sitting, like I said, in a room together, it'd be a lot easier. But I would love to just share some of this music with you all. And then again, there's going to be some positives in all of this, but I also want to hear from you all. What do you think the challenging message is? Is there a challenging message in the song? Is there something that you think really is problematic and kind of adds to the breakdown of our society? So these are all very popular songs, at least at one point when they were on, but I want to hear from you all.
Take a little time to think things over. I better read between the lines.
So I'm sure you'll heard that song before. It's very much it's a very popular song. It has a lot of expression in it, and continue on here.
Like a river, just keeps on living with all their memories. Shame, you're so heartbroken. Now you're scared to open and give your love again. And now anticipation waits for love. Will it be everything you dream? This time around, I know you have your doubts, but I won't let you down, darling. If we fall in love tonight, you're gonna be alright. Your heart is in good hands, darling. If we fall in love again, only you can depend. Take a chance and open your heart and let love again.
Okay, I would love some thoughts about this one here. If we fall in love tonight, anything? The Foreigner. I want to know what love is. That one, the lyrics were not working on that one. That's okay, Sue. But the thing that I think is really important in that song, that Foreigner song, they're of course asking, I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. I want to feel what it is. But I think if you look deep in that song, what they're looking to do is actually find love so much that they're willing to overlook their concerns. And that to me is it's a very common theme that, everybody wants love, but sometimes you're not really, focused on some of the challenges that may be facing you. You're going to accept some, but not the others. And if you think about that list, before, you might be looking for someone that maybe is generous, they may be intelligent, but they're not faithful. And you may be saying, well, I want love so much. And that song, again, it's one of those songs that who was it said that? Sue, that was one of your favorites. Mine too. When I hear that song, you just feel like such emotion. But yet I wonder, like, am I absorbing messages that maybe aren't the right message to, really absorb and to have. So this concept of, let's see here. One can love again. Love is an ocean, not a glass of water. I love this. So, when you're listening to this song, it's like, yes, there's the positive messages, and then there's the more challenging ones, and that is that, if we can fall in love tonight, it's almost like a moment. You can fall in love in that one moment. And if you think about, again, all those qualities, all those things are going to kind of come rushing towards you. It makes this idea of love, I think, seem very quick and simplified. And just that whole thing of falling in love, really in kind of very, very quick, close quarters. It's kind of, it's an interesting concept. It's probably, I think that Rod Stewart is talking about love, but the concept, those thoughts and feelings that come about when you think about falling in love in one evening can make it kind of a challenging moment. All right, so this one here, I think this one's an obvious one. You all may have heard this again. This hails from the UK. So, Sandra, I'm sorry about, we have a lot of kind of focused of negative messaging coming out of the UK. But this was a song back in, I think, the early 2000s. Very catchy, don't get me wrong. Listen to that here.
Away from me as I walked through the subway. Must have been about 3:15. In front of me stood a beautiful honey with a beautiful body. She asked me for the time. I said the cost of her name, 6-digit number, and a date with me tomorrow at 9. Did she decline? No. Didn't she mind? I don't think so. Or was it for real? Damn sure. But what was the deal? A pretty girl is 24. So is she keen? She couldn't wait. Cinnamon queen, let me update. What did she say? She said she loved to rendezvous. She asked me what we were gonna do. Some stop with a bottle of Moet for Monday. Took her for a drink on Tuesday. We were making love by Wednesday. And on Thursday and Friday and Saturday we chilled on Sunday. I met this girl on Monday. Took her for a drink on Tuesday. We were making love by Wednesday. And on Thursday and Friday and Saturday we chilled on Sunday. 9 was time, cause I be getting mine. And she was looking fine. Smooth talker, she told me she loved to unfold me all night long. Ooh, I love the way she kicked it. From the front to the back, she flipped it.
Okay. So yeah, do y'all remember that song? It was a very popular song. If you listened to pop music around that time, it was, I think, and this is kind of what someone said, where's the R&B? Okay, James. Yeah, I love this song. It illustrates the tension between romantic love and physical love. Exactly. There's that tension. This song is all about lust. And but I think that, again, the danger is, when one listens to this song, it's very easy to kind of you love the melody, you love the rhythm, you love everything about the song. It can conjure up feelings of lust, and very easily, I think that you can start, transposing that onto your, these relationships that we're looking for love in. And, it's he kind of just, lays it out. It's a 7-day enterprise. It's just very straightforward, very clear. Yeah, this does challenge the law of marriage, certainly. Sue. Let's see, Jane wants some R&B. All right, James, we'll satisfy that request. Here's our first R&B hit. Again, this is by the way, I've included the lyrics. I've included them oftentimes because I think that it's real easy just to kind of just hear the melody and just really not focus on what we're hearing. But also I think it's important to see this because I'm sure, I have seen over the years, and also with my kids, they are really absorbing things, and they're not even aware they're absorbing it. And I think that sometimes that obviously creates more of a challenging issue right there. But when you look at these lyrics, I'm sure that some of you are like, I didn't even know that's what they were saying. So anyway, it's just a little informative piece. But we'll continue on here now. I hope that that was good for you, James. James wants Otis Redding, so Wilson Pick. Yes, there's a lot of music out there, and I can't play it all. But yeah, that's also another one. So I'm going to look towards just a few more here, and I just want everybody to kind of just focus on the lyrics that we have here. And I'm going to kind of tie these together in just a moment. Okay, Byron, were you talking about this song in particular? Is that right? I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it is it's such a beautiful song. I mean, and when I hear that, I mean, that's actually probably my favorite romantic movie, by the way, Serendipity. And I love the soundtrack, the music. It speaks to me. It makes you think of, feelings of love, of loving someone, of being loved. I mean, what she describes there, I mean, who wouldn't want to feel that? I think the challenge with that is that I think it puts you in a position that, I mean, not that that you can't have these feelings of elation and just this euphoric understanding of love, but I think that it creates these unnecessary and almost unachievable expectations that this is love. And if you love someone, if you have a good, functioning, healthy relationship, then it's going to feel like this song. And I think anybody who has loved and been loved could say, yeah, that may not always be the case. Love is a little bit more complex than these lyrics. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. Okay, so what we have here, do we have any other requests of what we have shown here? I will say there's lots of songs that we could have gone through, but I did choose some songs that I thought were very popular, but also kind of had some messages in them that were a little bit kind of goes against this idea of love. So we're trying to focus on that here. Sandra says, well, life is 97% hardship. How about some reality? Yes, I like that. Yes, serendipity. So I will play just a few more here. And this is from I imagine you all heard the Twilight series. This is a song, again, is beautiful. Let's see what this song has to show us. All right, yes, Pauline, I do think this one is about love, certainly. But I think there's a challenge with this song, and I'd love to know your and other people's thoughts on this one. I believe that this kind of creates, again, a very unattainable, perhaps an unattainable, ideal here. That you've loved someone for 1,000 years and you're going to love them for 1,000 more. It sounds beautiful, but it does, I think, create this expectation of, I think, a love that is almost so beautiful, so wonderful. Zanus is just waiting for the person to come back instead of living. Yeah, I do like that. So again, this is one of those songs that makes you feel very. I think it's just very, in a way, uplifting. I think Byron, I think that you were saying that this one's just gorgeous, and I agree. It's just it's a very sweet and special song, and but I think the question here is, does it create a feeling of love that, Sandra said it's not reality. When you live with someone, it's a big of a letdown when you find their dirty dishes everywhere. Yes, I think that we can all understand that. But yeah, but so again, I'm not trying to say that these songs don't have their place. But it is, it's I think perhaps part of it. And James wrote, it's just me, I guess, but behind videos seem to be ballads, folk music, soft rock styles. It tells a lot about the composition of the US Baha'i community. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. I don't know if you can elaborate, James. I do think I love that opening song that was played. I think that to me was love. When they're talking about promoter of concord, grace, devotion, this is love. I think, when I was listening to that, I felt so uplifted in a different way. But I think that, that was, when you think about somebody you want to be with, either in a romantic scenario or not, this idea of love, I think sometimes these things can be a little perverse, I should say. Okay, we will continue on. See if y'all know this one. Just have like one or two more. We'll go back.
Can't wait to get home. Baby, dial your number. Can you pick up the phone? 'Cause I wanna have a daydreaming about you all day in school. Can't concentrate. Wanna have your voice in my ear till mama come and say it's too late. 'Cause the lights are on outside. Wish there was somewhere to hide. 'Cause I just don't want to say goodbye. 'Cause you are my baby, baby. Nothing really matters. I don't really care what nobody tell me. I'm gonna be here. It's a matter of extreme importance. My first teenage love affair. I love our secret meetings on the 5th floor staircase. I'm gonna give you this letter of all the things I can't say. Want you to be my first, my last, my ending and beginning. Yeah, I write your name in my book, your last name, my first. I'm your business. The lights are on outside. Wish there was somewhere to hide.
All right, what do y'all think about this song? I'm curious. You know, it definitely, I mean, as you can see, teenage love affair. You know, my question is, does this set up those teenagers, those 20-year-olds for this, you know, this idea of what love is? You know, because I'm sure, you know, this scene, I think, you know, around, you know, elementary, high school, these types of years, is that love? Do you really understand what love is? Does that set someone up for almost a very simplistic, overly simplistic, you know, idea of what love is? That's the question. It's setting up teenagers, how they're supposed to feel and think and behave. It's very idealistic. I agree. It's also sweet, right? And it makes you feel like, oh, that's a very nice and sweet song. And it may have very nostalgic, you know, influences as well. You think back to those times, passing notes in school and simple versions of what love is, and then you look to your life now and feel like it's overly complicated. Why can't it be simpler? Byron said it's the first attempt at love. Yes, I like that also. It's also very true. So, all right, we'll continue on. Thank you all so much for that. This is also an interesting song, Adore You. I don't know if you all know this one. You probably have heard it on the music, you know, on the radio and whatnot, wherever you listen to your music. This is a really interesting one. And I think, you know, thinking about this idea of, if you look at the chorus line there, he's talking about walking through fire. You know, I'd walk through fire for you. Let me adore you. Essentially, I'd do anything for you. And I think that in some ways, it's quite beautiful. And I think, you know, what level of like commitment and dedication. I hear, yeah, Emily said she's not listened to these. They're all new to her. Yeah, sometimes these things can be a little unrealistic. I was thinking about this song, Adore You. And I think that one of the challenging aspects of this song is when I listen to this, I think when many people can listen to this song, it's something that they can think of as, I wish that someone would adore me like this. And I think that that could create a lot of some challenge because, I mean, think about it. Like someone would walk through fire for you. That's a heavy, you know, thing for someone to do. So in my opinion, I would say that you better be bringing your A game if someone is going to be dedicating their life to you in this way. And I think that the challenge that may exist is when everybody wants someone to adore them that way, but yet they may not be able to or willing to actually giving that person what they deserve. And so I think it kind of if you listen to this song and many other songs like it, we can easily just take on that feeling of, I wish this was me, and not do the work that it takes to get there. So it's kind of a complicated scenario here. Zanu says it's unrealistic. It puts too much pressure and weight on the other person. I think so at the same time, Zanu, that's true. We will continue on here. There's a couple songs here, and then we will finish this off. Let's see here. I'm going to take us to this next song. So I scoured all of my music, and I'm not saying that these are the top ones, but these are two songs that I would like to share, because I think that it has much more of one realistic idea of what love is. And it also, I think, is, much more attainable. And I'm going to start off with the Steve Winwood song here. And I'm sure most of you have heard this, but I think it's wonderful because it kind of sets the stage a little bit. So coming from where like Howard Jones was talking about, like, what is love? I think Steve Winwood is saying there's a higher love out there. And I think that he, in my opinion, when I listen to his music, I do think that his music does transcend this very base level idea of lust and, these very simplistic and sometimes very unhelpful understandings of love. But we'll listen to this just for a little bit. Enjoy. I think it's a very positive song. Hopefully it will work here. All right, so that is, it's one of those top pop hits. Sandra's talking about singing the song into her hairbrush, so I'm sure we can all picture that. I think this is one of those songs that if you don't really focus on the lyrics, you can just kind of hear the beat. It's nice, it's catchy, but I think that there is something much more higher level. I mean, he's really talking about a spiritual connection, something that's deeper. And so that's that. That's Steve Winwood. Yes, he has lots of other popular hits. We'll do one more here. Okay. Yes, Sue, actually, to your point, In a recent book 12, we had a lot of music as part of our course, and it was an interesting way to kind of go through that particular book. But anyway, for me, I think that this is a song that strikes me as a very uplifting, positive song, and exactly what you just said, Pauline. Best friend. That's what, for me, when I'm thinking of love, I'm looking for my best friend. I don't really need someone to walk across the fire for me and those types of things. That's what, I think that is kind of the message that I think that I'm trying to kind of convey here, is that there's some music that I think is unrealistic, and in that process, sometimes it can be very unhelpful. But I think that we all can look at, for example, a song like Open Arms and think, yeah, there has been times when I've had a hard day, and that's exactly what I want. I want a hug. I want an embrace. I want someone to accept me when things aren't going my way. So it's not this idealistic, sense of what love is. So that kind of takes us to this whole, the question of, does listening to this popular music, does it draw us closer, to, or push us further away from our goal of love? I do think that in many ways it does both. And I think that, we've seen, it's nice to see some of the elements of love, even in those first set of songs that we talked about. But I think it's important to be realistic and to really dive deep and to focus on the messages. And are these messages more of lust? Are they, we talk about revenge and things like that, but are they on the other hand, really true understandings of love and what we're looking for in a relationship? And I think that the challenge that I've seen is that, we've made, like, humanity, thousands of years of development. I would argue with music, we have fallen behind. There's been strides in construction in every aspect of life. But I think that music has kind of had a lacking. And I would say that, we do have the skill of singing, the expertise of lyric writing and all that it's certainly increased. But the question is, why are we having this like stumbling block, I'd say. And the reason why I think is that, music, it kind of reinforces these qualities of love. It doesn't really, and it also kind of reinforces the magical, the euphoric nature of it and the feelings of them. And so I think that we kind of just get in this cycle of, well, let's make it feel even more magical, more exciting, more amazing. And so, I think, like, if you think about, go to your life and you think about anything in your life, like, for example, a house or your car, those things are intended to function in a certain way. And you're focused on that functioning. So if you think of airline travel, for example, you don't want an airline to tell you that they are safe and that you're going to enjoy your experience there. You actually want to feel that. You want to get where you need to go on time. And no matter what they do, they can't just say, well, we're always on time, or it's a safe flight, when it's not. Most human beings, they understand it's not. And so, I think that the challenge is that when we're listening to music, I think sometimes instead of the message is about love, but what we're not focusing on love, we're focusing on these other feelings that we might feel when we are loved. And I think that when you do that, it kind of takes us away from the process of getting towards love. And so I think that is, a challenge that I believe pop music does kind of carry that burden. It has a lot of benefits, but I think that it's something that we want to be mindful of. So are we supposed to stop listening to music? No. And Byron said, what aspect of music were you calling a stumbling block? Well, we're talking about pop music here. And I think that obviously not all popular music and whatnot that you hear on the radio, but I think that the point here is to, one, be engaged in the music that we're listening to. And again, there's beautiful music and whatnot out there. I'm not saying that, but we want to, I think, focus and be aware of, what's out there. And anyway, so, are we drawn towards that message, or are we more drawn towards the feeling of that message? So I don't have any other prepared remarks. Sandra's asking about country music. Loretta Lynn, yes. Obviously, I think we could do this for a long time. There's a lot of music out there, but I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I don't have any other prepared remarks, but we may have some time for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really, I loved the interactive trip through music history. So thank you so much. So yeah, now we have some time for questions. You can put your questions in the chat.
So yes, I will just say, yes, obviously we are talking about the words, the lyrics. Of course, there is a distinction between the lyrics and the melody, the instruments that compose that music. In many ways, it's thought of as synonymous. Of course, it's not. But yeah, it's a very it's a good point. Yes.
What dictated your choice of music for this presentation?
Oh, that is a good question. Like I said, first of all, I do find that my musical interests are very kind of all over the place. Growing up, I grew up in Tennessee, the southern part of the United States, and because I'm Black, I was supposed to just like a certain, type of music, being rap music and whatnot. But that didn't define me. I liked and like all good music. I don't really see a difference. I love 80s music, 60s music. I love music all over the place. And it's, I really believe that when I listen to music, I think that it's quite amazing because you can listen to something that was done in the 60s. We're talking about like over 60 years ago. And the level of advancement between music in the 60s and now is in many ways not that different. And so, if you go watch like a music video that is 15 years old, you can easily say, wow, that there's strides obviously that were made in the music video industry. Or if you go look at a house or different things like that. But I find that music is something that obviously it's still part of a progression. But I find that there's high quality of music in no matter when we've existed in human history. So anyway, yes, so my own personal choices of music, but really just going through music and thinking, is this a positive message? Is this a negative message? I chose music that wasn't obviously negative, or just giving you, messages that were clearly unhelpful, to, achieving love. I kind of thought about music that kind of almost had like a partial, true love message to it, but some challenging aspects of it as well.
Do you think songs sort of illustrate the time the musician has lived? It shows the culture and the time and what humanity is going through.
I most certainly do. And I've had this thought for years that, I think that I would imagine, again, my musical, I'll just say my musical interest is probably back from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then into the 2000s. And I think that I feel like when I listen to that music, love, these much more, I think, truer versions of love did kind of come out in this music of the 60s and 70s. And the more you get, you know, the 80s, 90s, the more I feel like the more that I've gotten into the late 90s and then 2000s, 2010s and 2020s, there is a particular level of, I would say there's almost like a jaded version of love that I feel like I hear. And I think as a result of that, it's not to say that there's not music that talks about love and all that stuff, but again, a lot of these songs, they are focusing on the feelings that one wants to have around love. And so they kind of make up for the lack of love by this feeling of, well, let's talk about, I've died 1,000, I met you 1,000 years ago, I'm going to be with you for 1,000 more, or I'll walk through fire for you. Different things like that that just bolster this idea of love. Like, wow, that is a very extreme form of love. So I think it kind of creates this extremism. But I do think that you can see the time that the musician has lived. And of course, not of course, but I think of it in terms of, like, I would love to see, like, how many times the word love has been used, throughout, in songs, and can you chart that, like how often, can you just imagine just seeing a graph, exactly, Byron, just that chart of, like, love, and does it go down based off, or does it shoot up right, after wars or things like that? Like, I think it would be really interesting to see a physical, depiction of that.
So thank you so much for this talk, and thank you everyone for interacting and sharing your own experiences as well. We really appreciated it.
Thank you all. Yes.
Our speaker next week will be Russell Bayu, and his topic is Return of the King, How Baha'u'llah's Revelation Fulfills Prophecy. So again, these talks are every Saturday at noon Eastern time, and I'll put the link to our YouTube channel and mailing list if you're not on it already. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye.